This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlong, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thank Almighty!
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. It is Thunderous Thursday here in Fresno and around the country. And so honored and humbled as always to have you with us. We get an hour, and man, does this hour go by fast. For me, it does. To visit with you all, so much to talk about, and some exciting news I'll be sharing with you next week, and not tomorrow, but next week. Not trying to tease you or anything like that, but it'll be some fun stuff. But first, let me, I've been meaning to pass this on to y'all for quite some time now. But before we get into some of the stories today that we'll be discussing, and we're going to have the phone lines up after the first of the year, so we get our interactive aspect of our show back online, and I know a lot of y'all have been looking forward to that, as have I. But I told y'all about the book I was writing called In the Heat of the Fight. It's kind of my life story. And been working on it for quite some time, several years. And we're getting there. We're almost ready to go. And we're looking probably late spring of next year, early summer. We're going to have it ready. And just kind of memoirs of, well, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I don't believe in luck. I believe in God's mercy and God's opportunities that he gives us. I don't think there's a randomness to anything in life. My belief. I believe that there's a plan and a purpose to even the most simplest and innocuous things, and don't believe there's such thing as a chance meeting. Call them divine appointments. But anyway, it's my life from birth to where we all are now, and so it's shaping up, and it's been one of the most enjoyable things, introspective. I tell you, writing a book really introduces a man to himself. It really does. Some of the things, I reliving, going, wow, man, just lucky to be here, just blessed to be here. And so you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. A lot of good, most of the bad and the ugly in my life. Most of those wounds were self-inflicted, bad decisions. I just have been very, very blessed to have so many great people in my life, but some difficult seasons in my life, and they'll all be in the book. But here's what I want to tell you. If you're interested in the book, because I've had people, email me, text me, talk to me personally, that would like to have a copy of the book. Here's what I want to do, especially to my listeners and our viewers on social media and the In the Heat of the Night fan club, you all. I'm going to personally sign the first 2,500 copies of this book, and also going to throw in a picture of my old mug from the Heat of the Night days, but personalize a little note in there to you, because without you, my goodness, you put a lot of food on my table, put a roof over my head. You gave me a life and a career that most actors don't get. Over 90% of the Actors Guild in its history made less than $5,000 in their life in acting. Yeah, quite a statistic. So to have made a living for 30 years First of all, with this face is a miracle. That's why I believe in miracles. I know I've used that joke a lot, but for me, it's not a joke. It's reality. But if you would like to pre-order, here's how we want to start out doing this. I'm going to give you an email, okay? And that email is simply autrybook.com, AUTRYBOOK, just autrybook.com. And if you could send me a email of interest, if you would like to have 3 other people, like family members, would like to buy one, I want to give you that opportunity as well. Not that it's such a great deal you get a book from me. It's just, hey, if you would like it, again, I'm very humbled by the fan base that I have. You all, you don't know what you meant to me. You lifted me up during some very difficult times, and now I keep going on and on, but I love y'all. I just love y'all. My family's so appreciative of you. So if you could put in that email up to 3 people and somewhat of a little of a synopsis, if you would like it personalized, something you would like me to say to your friend or family member, just send that. And don't send any money. Don't send no credit card right now. I just want to have it ready so when we get ready to push the go button on this book and it's ready to be released, I want you all to be able to get those first copies along, like I said, with the autographed picture, and it'll be me signing it. I don't have people sign my stuff. You got to take the time to reach out to me. And I know some folks who do this. That's just what they choose to do. It might take a little longer to get something from me when you ask it to be signed. I mean, I've got a stack I've got to get on that. It's just life has happened as it happens to all of us, and I've gotten behind on that, but I'm going to catch up. But anyway, it's Autry, AUTRY, autrybook.com with an email, and then when we're ready to move forward on this, we'll contact you, and then we'll show you how to go about ordering that book. Okay. People try to, explain, or even I've tried to explain, and probably not too successfully, what my position is on what size government should be, because it's a fundamental question that I think divides people into either, in our 2-party system, the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. And I'm pretty safe and feel pretty good by saying that most Democrats believe in a bigger role for government in our everyday life. Republicans, by and large, I know I'm using a broad swath here on both these parties, and I don't particularly like to do that, but I think I'm safe to say this, that most Republicans believe in a lesser role of government. You get folks on the right, like libertarians, that really don't want government, in their lives at all. They're the ones that say, fix my roads, defend my shores, and stay the hell out of the rest of my life. And that's there's some kind of appeal to that. Except when you see things happen in the world that only government and private-public partnerships can address effectively only if they partner together. That's what happened in World War II. After the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, we had our Navy completely destroyed, and it took the government partnering with the private sector to start building those ships and warplanes and all the other stuff that was needed to win the World War II. So there are places for those type of partnerships. On the left, you have a situation where the far left, most Democrats say, okay, Social Security, Medicare, giving that hand up, almost bordering in, you'll have a segment saying, okay, if you're really down in your luck and you really don't have a future, you're uneducated, whatever, this society should take care of you. All the taxpayers should pitch in and take care of you. And, part of me subscribes to that. My belief is if you're too old, too young, too sick, or too disabled to help yourself, the government can help some, but they can't take care of everybody. The government just doesn't have enough resources even in those groups. But I subscribe to that. If you're too young, too little baby, young, too old, too sick, too disabled to help yourself, you just simply can't do it. A compassionate country needs governmentally to help a little bit. But what happens and what we see is happening is a drift in this country towards believing that government is the answer to everything. The more government in your life, the better. Well, there's certain problems that government just cannot solve. Government cannot make you want to work. Work does something, not just delivers a paycheck. It's something that works on your soul in a good way. When you've gone out and you've given, you've worked for your money, and there's a feeling that you just really can't describe, and it's a good feeling, a feeling of self-worth. And I can just speak from a man's standpoint. I'm sure it's probably true for women, but I'm not a woman. I got to speak from a man's standpoint. Outside of a man's physical health, mental health, and spiritual health, having a job contributes more to a man's self-worth than anything else. Outside of those other three I just mentioned: mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and then having a job. To going out and feel like you're working, you're contributing for a man. It's essential. One of the worst nightmares men can go through is to be out of work. Now, I don't know why it's just in our DNA. Most people. Now, you have some failures to launch here, and you're getting more and more of that because men are now becoming more comfortable with doing nothing or living off of women. Trying to find it used to be the sugar daddy. Now it's the sugar mamas. And I think it's pretty soon the sugar mamas in number are going to be in first place over the sugar daddies. You got women out in the workforce, every day, and that's good. You choose to do that, that's great. But if you choose to stay home and raise kids, that's good too. And if you choose to, hey, I'm going to take care of the kid, that's good. Because that you approach that, yes, as a loving father, but it's a job. Try doing what a traditional woman or mother does for a day. Take care of that house. Take care of the kids. Have dinner ready. All the other stuff. Man, that will wear you out. I've done that. And to come home after my first marriage didn't work out, I was in that position. But to just sit on your butt and do nothing, expect people to take care of you is not good for an individual. You get too many of those, it's not good for a country. When you get more people in the wagon than are pulling the wagon ain't going to get there. It's just going to get weighted down. And I think that's what's happening. And also with big government, you've got to watch, and especially, we have $32 trillion in debt. We got this huge bureaucracy that it's just insatiable in how it's to grow. It keeps growing as federal government. And to sustain that is impossible. If you want to have any kind of quality of life that this generation has known, my generation, and the younger generations before us, you just cannot, because government in general doesn't really produce anything. They don't produce a good or a service. In some cases, they do a service, administrative services, DMVs, the parks, other things. Yes, but are they classified as essential? During COVID, they were, and you're going, wait a minute. These all are essential services because they can go and for the government. I mean, do you really need those kind of services during this difficult time? And then you see in the budget that's just been presented, 89,000 new IRS agents proposed. Now, most of those are going to be probably $100,000, between $80,000 and $100,000 jobs with benefits. And if that gets passed, they're never going away. So I'm going to just try this. Just give a little dead time on radio, so bear with me. Social media, you know what I'm doing. I'm going to take out my friendly little calculator here, if I can find it. If not, well, come on. Where's my calculator? There's my calculator. Okay, let's go. Okay. Come up, calculator. Putting me on the spot here. Okay. You know, during when the breaks, I will do it. I'll get the number. But when you do the math, 89,000 times 80, just let's use 70,000. And which, when you add benefits, going to be close to 100,000. It's going to astound you how much money that is. And the federal government is telling you it's going to create more money to the government treasury because they're going to go soak the fat cats with these 89,000 new IRS agents. And you look at the numbers, and that is simply false. The amount that they're going to get by further harassing people for more money, and they're not going to stop with the so-called fat cats, because history has proven with the federal government on situations like this, when they say we're just going to go after the rich so they pay their fair share, the fat cats. What eventually happens very quickly, within a span of maybe a couple of years of having that policy in place, you little small business owner that has 2 employees, you are now considered a fat cat. All right? You can prove that. You can go in. I don't have it at my fingertips right now, but historically the middle class gets soaked again. And there's only so much that a middle class can absorb. Most of the world does not have a middle class. You see dictatorships running wild in Africa. They don't have a middle class. They got the rich elite and the very poor. South America, you don't see a lot of middle class people in South America. Even Mexico, with all of its problems, has more of a middle class. Venezuela, Ecuador, you just go down the list. They don't have a vibrant middle class. Tributes. You go one by one. Western Europe, somewhat. It's disappearing. The middle class in America has been our biggest strength. Not rich, not poor, but living the American dream, being able to work hard, have a good job, save some money, buy a car, buy a house, save a little money, send your kids to college, maybe not Princeton or Yale, but who would want to right now? I'm telling you right now, you get a full ride to Harvard right now or a scholarship to Fresno City College, take Fresno City College. You're going to learn more. It's going to help you in life than you're going to learn in Harvard. We'll get into that maybe later, definitely tomorrow. And then you see all of in the federal government, there are tax dollars with these programs and these offices that are created to deliver these indispensable services. Okay. Which brings me a long-winded setup to this illustration of why you have to watch big government. Okay, let me first tell you where I stand on government, the size of government. I don't believe in big government, but I believe in government big enough to do its intended job. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Now, finding out how much that cost is a whole endeavor in itself. To go with a fine-tooth comb, that needs to be done, and immediately. Decades ago, I would support an office that would go in every year and scrub each department, make sure every tax dollar is being stretched as far as it can go for the intended purpose that you told the people it was going to be used for. We don't have any of that. But I don't believe in big government. Listen closely, just so you'll know, for me, to make me feel good so I can sleep good night. It's important you know this about me if you listen to this show. I don't believe in big government. I believe in government big enough to do its intended job with the priorities of the American people. What is? The defense. Making sure our shores are defended. Our borders are secure. Now, I'm going to say two things, and they're not mutually exclusive. I can believe in a strong defense, a top priority of our tax dollars. I support it. And in the same breath, say military spends money like drunken sailors. They waste money like no other department. Those are two facts. They are not opposing positions. It's not cognitive dissonance. I mean, we have like 10 times around more generals than we have that we're paying than we did back in World War II. And the Army, our military, has shrunk in terms of numbers. Why do we need so many four-star generals taking down these salaries? I mean, you're of course, it's a political decision, what's going on in Iraq and Israel, of how much money you spend here and there. But we got to get this figured out, because there's big questions about whether we can fight a two-front war effectively. Actually, to support Ukraine and support Israel. But, actually, we have the potential. Right now, we're in a three-front war. We're funding Ukraine, funding Israel, and we're going to have to fund our own border policies. We're going to have to spend a lot of money to secure these things. You've got to find out who these 8 million people are. You do, because I guarantee you some of them are terrorists. Not all of them, surely. It only took a few to bring down the Twin Towers. And to now, with this whole stuff, with the drones and all this stuff, you're going to have to find out where they are. You're going to have to secure the border. That's three fronts. But let me ask you this. What country is more in America's interest that they stay free and an ally of the United States? The Ukraine or Taiwan? We happen to get all of our chips for our computers from Taiwan. It's a rhetorical question. Of course, Taiwan is more of a needed ally in terms of its importance to America. How do you fight and fight in the Ukraine and live up to Biden's promise, however much you need for as long as it takes? Israel, a real ally, whatever you need, as long as it takes. Secure the border for as long as it takes, whatever it needs, and give Taiwan when China makes their move. The answer is we can't. We're going to have to sacrifice one. You can't. We will be drained dry, completely broke as a country. We're already there, actually. We're there, actually. Now, when we come back, I'm going to explain to you what spurred this little riff that I've gone on here to open the show. And I think you might agree with me on this one. This one is government gone amok. We'll be right back. Oh, man. We're still on social media, right? Man, I tell you, I got to go out and get some sun. Saw myself on social media, poked in there, logged in just to take a look. I mean, man, there's Casper the Friendly Ghost. Y'all ready for Christmas? Done all your Christmas shopping? Nah, come on. Every single year, I tell myself, I'm not going to put up with this stress. I'm not going to do this to myself. I'm going to get things ordered. I'm going to get them nicely wrapped under the tree 2-3 weeks early. And then I always find myself a couple of days before Christmas. So I miss Toys R Us. I used to just go down there with the cart, just grab. And by that time, all the good stuff was picked over. But, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today, right? Old adage, but very true. You good to go? All right. All right, I'll do that number here. Hold on. Okay. $6,675,000,000 that you just added to the federal government, based on like $70,000 a year that they make. That's a low ball. So you got to go find probably about $10 billion worth of tax cheats. Come on, give me a break. All right.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
And welcome back to Alan Autry, No Retreat. Okay, let me share with you what kind of triggered this government waste and abuse. Have you ever heard of the Economic Opportunities Commission? I had heard of it as mayor, never got deep and did much of a dive. It sounds good, Economic Opportunities Commission, and creating economic opportunities for everybody. If that's what was happening, that would be kind of good. If you were legitimately helpful in finding economic opportunities for everyone. Okay? Well, let me tell you what the Economic Opportunity Commission just did. They took our tax dollars and they're in the process of suing meathead movers. I don't know if you know who meathead movers or who they are, who they is. I don't know if that's plural or what, meathead movers. But I've used them a lot, and they're great. And part of their advertising campaign is they show these big, well-built college hunks. And a lot of them are in sports, and they want to make some money on the side. They don't, a lot of them aren't these name, image, and likeness stars, so they're not getting money, big money from sponsors. They got to go out and earn a little spending cash so they can go out Saturday night, take their girlfriend out, and so on. And they do a really good job. Well-organized outfit. The guy started it, I think, about 20 years ago. I recommend them. They're not a sponsor for this show, by the way, so it's not a pay-for-play deal here. Meathead movers. Well, the Economic Opportunity Commission, unprompted, which means nobody filed a complaint against meathead movers. The Economic Opportunity Commission, funded by our tax dollars, took it upon themselves to sue meathead movers. Are you ready for this? For age discrimination. Just when you think you heard it all, Jeremy, you think I'm kidding you. Folks, it's real. They're going all the way unless meathead movers decides to settle out of court. It looks like meathead movers are going to settle out of court. And I can go through with this, which I wish they would. I wish they would go to court on this. My goodness, just to show the insanity of the world we're living in now and how government can take your money and do some of the most stupidest, idiotic things when everybody's struggling to buy bread, to put food on their table, to stay in their house that they're renting. And your tax dollars, my tax dollars, paying for the Economic Opportunities Commission to end the opportunities for young guys trying to make their way through college, because their motto and their hiring practices that they don't go hire 71-year-old dudes like me to lift heavy furniture. I don't want somebody that looks like me and walks like me coming in my house, moving my furniture. These young guys come in, they bubble wrap everything. I mean, they're great. They're very careful when they load it. They're professional. But the most important thing about doing the job, they're young and they're strong. They're not going to drop my wife's favorite table, glass table. If they did, I'd be in deep, deep trouble. Aged. And I'm going to go this far. I guess the owner of Meathead Movers came out and he acquiesced. You're bowing down to this bull crap. And they're saying, well, we don't age discriminate. We don't. We're opening up. Yes, you do, and thank God you do. Yeah, but you know, I don't want me and Terry Wild over here. I love Terry. He's in good shape. Terry's 77. I'm 71. You don't want to see three guys that look like me coming in. Well, we're here to move your furniture. You can go off and have a good time and feel safe. It's going to be delivered. Is this, it just started me thinking last night, my goodness, this is one little department. Do you realize how little they must have to do? Again, no old dude called up the EOC and their lawyers and said, listen, I'm 69 years old and I just applied out of Meathead Movers. And they didn't they didn't hire me. And this is wrong. And instead of saying, well, thank you, sir, we'll look at it, and you put it at the bottom of the pile, which where it belongs, they go, oh my gosh, let's go get them. I mean, they're sitting there playing video games, obviously, this commission, and I don't know how much, I'm going to look it up, how much is funded each year for the Economic Opportunities Commission. But this action alone should be enough to just put them out of business. The OC, not Meathead Movers. And you say, well, there's one little cut that you can heal, that you can stitch up in this bleeding budget that we're living in, this bleeding monstrosity of a bureaucracy that is destroying this country. It's the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you start reducing wasteful spending in a big elephant on steroids type bureaucracy? One department at a time. And this one right here screams, that's what I'm saying, bring this before Congress. I mean, start small. If the EOC tries to back this up, this lawsuit, in any way, shape, or form, anything less than my bad, you got to have the EOC scalp hanging on Ted Cruz's wall, or anybody who cares about where this country's going with this excessive spending. We can't sustain it. This is absolutely ridiculous. So I wanted to make this point to you. I spent most of the whole show on that. Let's get to some quick hitters here before we run out of time. Probably already heard, if you hadn't, Tanya Chunkin, who is the presiding judge in the Trump trial in terms of the insurrection stuff and all that stuff, working hand in hand with Jack Smith. She did an unexpected thing to some. She declared a pause in the trial's schedule. You know, Jack Smith, he, with this railroad job they're doing on Trump, he doesn't just want to railroad Trump. He wants to put Trump's case on high-speed rail, get it through before the campaign, during the campaign, definitely before the election, get Trump convicted in front of a totally brainwashed, woke jury of 12, get him convicted, get him in jail before that's his the conventional wisdom of what he's trying to do, even on the left. They think it's bad for democracy if they don't go and interfere in this election. Try that on for rationalization. If Jack Smith and the liberal media, the woke media, and the judges don't break every sacred law we have in the judicial system to put Trump in jail, then it's a threat to democracy. It's justified if they do this in this case, because we have never faced such an existential threat to democracy than Donald Trump. Now, there's not one thing you can point to in the 4 years that he served that showed he would be anything like a dictator. You know, executive orders, Obama, Biden, they all used tons of executive orders. Trump didn't use that many. Some. But that was full speed ahead. Chunkin made the decision, and so that March 4th time when the trial was supposed to start, which was ironic because I believe, Jeremy, it is the day before Super Tuesday. Did I write the day? How ironic that Jack Smith and in collaboration with the court would pick that date. But she's gonna pause it. She basically saying this thing is moving a little too fast, even for my woke heart. This is a little bit too much for me because I have to live with the consequences, the historical consequences of this. So it's being paused, and it looks like that this trial is not going to begin until after the election. Most of the pundits on the right and left, they agree. I haven't really heard one, and they know a lot more about process-wise than you and I do. So it looks like it's going to be after the election. But I got a little interesting take on that. I have a little different possibility for Jack Smith's motives and this judge. It's not working out like they thought. They meaning the whole Democratic Party, the whole cabal of the Democratic Party, the media, academia, corporate America, in particular the social media platforms, the entertainment industry, in particular the movies and music and movies industry, part of entertainment, pro sports, in particular the NBA and the NFL. They believe with every fiber of their body that these charges, all of these indictments in Atlanta, Fannie Lewis, what's her name? Fannie. I just want to go Fannie, but it's Fannie. Down in Georgia, the charges, those bogus charges, Jack Smith's bogus charges, Alvin Bragg's bogus charges, things that no one else except Trump or one of his family or Rudy Giuliani would be brought up on. They felt absolutely sure that they would see Trump's approval rating plummet quickly after the first group of indictments, surely after the second. And the third, he's in his political grave. That's what they thought. With that, never even considered any other scenario. Well, as old Gomer Pyle used to say, surprise, surprise, surprise. That didn't happen. Why? Because still most Americans have a sense of fairness. Even if it's their worst enemy being railroaded and being held to a different standard, being convicted on something that nobody else would, that still means something to people. They say, hey, I don't like the guy, but this is unfair. I don't like that guy. He's mean. This person, individual. I'm talking about anybody that's mean. He's mean-spirited. He's always arguing. He's unlikable. But he didn't deserve to be to be hit behind the head with a Louisville Slugger by somebody. That was uncalled for. That's too much. You can't do that to that guy. Just because you don't like him, you can't try to kill him. And that's basically what they're trying to do, is to kill Trump politically. And or some would like him dead physically. I mean, that's just a fact. The comedian holds up a severed head of Donald Trump. I mean, that's... So what is the different motivation that I think Jack Smith and the judge and some others that are starting to soften on this thing with Trump? They've seen the polls not only not go down, the approval ratings, they've seen him skyrocket to where it's just a foregone conclusion. He's going to be the Republican nominee. Well, like it or not, here it comes. Trump train is coming down the track. You try to railroad him out of town, he's on high-speed rail back into town. Okay, it didn't work. Okay, just put it like that. The strategy did not work. But there's a danger here because you're getting a lot of Democrats, mainstream Democrats, like Manchin, some other folks that said, look, I'm going to vote against him. I'm totally against his policies. But I don't agree with what's going on here. And you're having other Democrats that are going to support Trump. You're having, by the poll numbers, the most African-American support in the history of a Republican president other than Abraham Lincoln. That's what the numbers are looking like. You're getting a mass exodus of Hispanics, notoriously under this illusion and under this lie that the Democratic Party was looking out for them. They're starting to leave. Suburban women are coming back, even with the abortion issue being the way it is, because Trump has an abortion message that appeals to them. He's not out there on, birth and conception. I believe in that, but, he doesn't. But I also believe in the compromise for the country. So you have this complete reversal of what they thought was going to happen. Jack Smith's being exposed for what he is. He's trying to interfere with an election. And all these folks that are bringing up these bogus charges really do face some consequences if Trump is elected. He could very well be elected and governed from prison. That's how crazy this whole world is right now. It doesn't seem to faze people when you ask them, well, if he's indicted or he gets convicted, does that bother you? A small percentage say, I would not support him if he was indicted. A small percentage. And a small percentage said if he was convicted, it wouldn't change their vote. So Jack Smith has asked, okay, you're going to delay this. Let's go right to the Supreme Court. They're going to settle this anyway. So he's asked the Supreme Court to take it, bypassing the appeals court process. Now, people think that's because Jack Smith wants him in prison quick. He wants to get this over with. But could it be that Jack Smith has seen what's happened? He's been revealed as to what he really truly is, a partisan, woke guy with a grudge against Trump, using the federal government and using charges that wouldn't hold water against anybody else except Trump. And could it be that this big faux pas that you've committed and you see what's happened, maybe you want out from under this? Maybe, just maybe, if the Supreme Court says, no, a president is immune from the charges you've brought against him, because that's what the Supreme Court is going to rule on, whether a president is immune of the alleged crimes that Trump has committed. If, and it's the Supreme Court rules that way, all of these charges everywhere, even in Georgia, goes away. And then you have an election the way you're supposed to have the election. Could it be Jack Smith's kind of hoping for that? Because here's what happened. He wins either way. It goes away. He says, hey, I did my best. Trump turns out to be a rotten president or whatever. He can say, I told you so. But the Supreme Court rules that President Trump and every other president has immunity in those actions and behavior that he perpetrated during that time. He can blame it on a rigged, stacked, conservative Supreme Court. You get where I'm coming from? Are you picking up what I'm laying down here a little bit? I do not think that is out of the realm of possibilities at all. I think Jack Smith has got his, in a ringer, and he wants out from under this, chunking, wants to not be seen as this, part of this cabal on these crazy charges against Trump. So I really believe that's a possibility. Now, having said that, I don't think the Supreme Court's going to rule in Trump's favor. I think they're going to say no one is above the law. I may be wrong. That in the Constitution, it says high crimes and misdemeanors, this sort. If these are the charges against him, you could say they shouldn't. Court could say we don't believe these charges should have been brought based on the evidence, which would be beneficial to Trump. But I see this, and I may be wrong. They may dismiss them. Maybe for the good of the country, it should happen that way. But I see them pushing it back to the appeals court process. But that puts that process way after the election, and we'll know whether we have Donald Trump as our president or we have Joe Biden for a second term. So I hope I was able to explain that clearly enough that like I said, I'm never going to claim to be really good at what I'm doing. But I'm trying to get better. Try to get better each show. But that's what I think is happening here. I may be wrong, but I just got that sneaky suspicion. When things start going south, unscrupulous people look for ways to jump off the sinking ship. And it doesn't care who they throw under the bus or who they drown with them. They're in the CYA mode, cover their own you-know-what. And I think that's the mode that Jack Smith's in right now. Folks, thanks for tuning in. God bless you. God bless America. And just do your best. Let God do the rest. And I promise you it's going to turn out the way it's supposed to. I love y'all. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.